let's talk about the ESRB. So what they are, the Entertainment Software Ratings Board. And the reason why I wanted to make the video, a couple reasons. First of all, Oscar and I are getting ready to play Resident Evil 2. There's going to be some Let's Plays of it on the channel, the remake, the Resident Evil 2 remake. And it is an M-rated game, and Oscar's only 12, but I think that he's old enough and mature enough to play this game, and I'll explain why. But here's the deal. There could be parents out there that aren't necessarily gamers, like me, that don't know how to necessarily monitor what their children are playing, and that's what the ESRB is for. The ESRB is a self-regulated system within the video game industry, so that the federal government didn't have to step in. They made their own regulations, and that's where the ESRB came from. And ultimately, with everything else, it's a good guideline, it's a good place to jump off from, but it's up to the parents to watch what their children are doing and to pay attention to what their children are playing. You know, that goes the same for movies, music, and of course video games. ESRB, they have 6 different ratings. There's EC for early childhood. It's like a preschooler type thing, educational games, things like that. There's E for everyone. There's E10 plus now. That's a newer one, so that's everybody 10 years and up. They think there may be things in it, you know, certain comic mischief is the word that I saw them use in a lot of things when I was looking online about it, that they think might be a little too much for people under 10. There's T for teen, which is everybody 13 and up, and that's got a little more of your, that can have some language in it, it can have some violence in it, you know, animated blood, things like that. And then you've got your M for mature, which is usually rated that for violence and sexually suggestive things and gore and blood and things like that. And that's one where it definitely comes down to what the parent would think that their kid is able to handle. The M-rated games are for people 17 and over because of those things. And it's not always a combination of all those things that go into it. Sometimes it's just one or two of the things. So like I said before, you know, in my last 2 review, that was an M-rated game, and I said that my kids are definitely not old enough to play that game. And the reason why I said that was because, in my mind, the emotional toll that game had, along with, there was definitely some sexual stuff in that game, but it was mostly for the themes overall, why I feel like they're not old enough to handle that game. The violence, I mean, like, we're getting ready to play Resident Evil 2, Oscar and I, because he's getting into scary stuff. He's 12, he told me he wants to play some scary games, you know, and I thought this would be a good place to start. I was probably younger than him when I played the original Resident Evil 2 game, and I think that he's completely able to handle what's in it, because it's just things that you would see in any sort of movie. You know, there's no sexual material in it. There's some language, but it's not terrible language, and there is some gore and scary stuff. And that's where, as a parent, you would need to step in and say, hey, is my kid able to handle this type of thing? And Oscar's an intelligent dude, and I feel like he is able to handle zombie attacks. He's got a good idea, not a good idea, he knows he can separate fantasy from reality, and he knows that you don't actually shoot things unless you want to kill them, and he's not going to take the violence in this video game and escalate that to one, either a real world scenario, or two, something that's going to affect him mentally. And that's why I feel why he can play this one. And you know, we've all been there. We've all been 12, 13, you know, starting to want to do a little more adult things and watch, you know, scary movies and play scary video games, and this is one that I definitely think is going to be okay for him. And that's why I wanted to make this video too, because I wanted to kind of share my thought process on that, and of course welcome anybody that, you know, has questions or something like that, wants to say something about it. Go ahead, you know, there's comments down there. Go ahead and leave your comment. And this is just the way I feel about it personally as a parent. And I think the ESRB ratings are great. They're a good jumping off point, but there's always going to be input from you as a parent, what you think on top of it. There's a couple other that they have. They have the AO, which is adults only rating. That's porn, basically, from what I understand. I've never played an AO game. I don't think I know of any. I think maybe there's one of the Leisure Suit Larry games might be, but I don't know. And from what I can tell, from what I've read, it's basically pornography. And there's a very few of them out there. And then the other one that you'll see thrown around a lot is the RP, which means rating pending, and that is for when you see promotional material of a game, it'll say RP for games that haven't been rated yet. But that's the ESRB. That's how I feel about it. That's how I go about letting my kids play games. Everybody in the house plays E-rated games, myself included. Oscar and Katie both play T-rated games. Evie, you know, she's still young, so there's not a T-rated game that she has really looked at yet. Besides Smash Brothers, I think Smash Brothers has got a T rating on it, and so there you go again. I mean, those are just cartoon video game characters. There's no blood, there's no swearing, there's nothing like that, and in my opinion, it should still be rated an E game, and so Eevee still gets to play it. And the biggest reason I want to make the video is because we haven't had M-rated things on the channel that the kids have been involved with. I played God of War, I streamed it on the channel. That's all there if you want to still watch that. Excellent game, by the way. Also, another M-rated game that I don't feel my kids are old enough to appreciate. I don't think there's anything in that game that they wouldn't be able to cope with and able to play. They could play that one if Katie and Oscar could play that one if they wanted to. But as far as the appreciation of what that game is about, they're too young for that. It would go totally over their head, I think. And that's my position. So that's why Oscar and I are starting his scary game education, I guess, with the Resident Evil 2 remake. And I mentioned in the beginning of the video parents that might not be into gaming and things like that, so where does it come down to? You know, usually ESRB use them as a jumping off point, but also I would recommend reaching out to a friend that plays games. It's not a hard thing to do anymore. It's one of the most popular pastimes in the world now, and there's always going to be somebody around to be like, hey, I think my kids should play GTA 5, and then you're always going to have a friend that's going to be like, well, it's got this, and this, and then you can make your decision from there. Or, if they start to say, hey, look, Mom and Dad, this is what's going on, I want to play this game, it's rated this, and you make a decision, you say, well, you know what, it sounds great, let's go ahead, let's see, and take the time and sit down and watch it with them and see what you think of it. I mean, it's not that big a deal to just say nope and pull the plug on the thing, but that's where we are. So the video of Oscar and I playing our first part of us playing RE2 is going to be up real soon after this one goes live, and that's why I wanted to get this made first, so that everybody can kind of see my thought process of why I think Oscar is old enough to play this type of game. And we may do some more stuff like it on the channel. Katie wants to play the Alice games. I'm really not sure what they're rated, but they're spooky, scary, you know, too. So we might be getting into some more mature-related content. The oldest two kids are 14 and 12. So, you know, those are the ages where I started playing, you know, some more serious types of games. And I hope that you stick around and watch it with us and enjoy it and have some fun with us. Like I said, if you have any questions or anything to say, please leave me a comment down there, and have a good night. A full world plan to gain the trust of the human race. After all, we come from